Hello, everybody. It is 5:52 p.m. Central Time on the 1st of December, 2020. It's Tuesday here in the United States. Have some breaking news for everybody. A noteworthy earthquake has just struck at the California-Nevada border. A place called Mena, Nevada. It's in a place called the Superstition Hills, I think. Let's go look it up. Here we are looking down on the west coast of the U.S., and it's our first 5 here in several weeks' time, I believe. And we'll get the coordinates from the USGS, I would suppose. Somebody has it at a 4.9. I think that's the Europeans. USGS has it at 5.2. So pulling the coordinates, they have it at a 10.2 kilometer depth. And let's get a copy of Google Earth open, and we'll also open this up on the USGS plate map. Show us the faults, the plates. And here's California, for instance, the earthquake right at the California-Nevada border. But there's something else there nearby, which we've already talked about at length in many of my previous videos. We're next to Long Valley Caldera, and we're next to Mono Lake Volcanic Field. Long Valley Caldera is a supervolcano just to the west, and I'll show that to you in a moment. Well, I don't know what we have going on out here. Some kind of large square in the ground in the desert. It's a little odd. Okay, well, until we get information on that, let's back it out and show you where we are overall. So, Monte Cristo Hills had a 6.5 earthquake strike here, and a surface fissure fracture which formed, and it went 12 miles west and east. Now, this is further than 12 miles over to the west, but we're on the edge of other ancient volcanic buttes. There's no doubt about that. Let's get an angle look on this from the side view on... Look at that. So this is where a previous rupture of some kind happened, but look at that. Hold on. We've got ourselves a really old, deep pit mine of some kind. It's been abandoned, looks like. Looks like an abandoned old quarry of some kind from a long time ago. Now, over to the west, is there a younger version that they're using, or is this abandoned as well? This looks abandoned as well. Or not in use. Okay, well, that sort of makes it a little bit more mysterious, wouldn't you say? A new 5-something coming in next to that? Maybe this is fill from those that they just dumped out and spread out across an area. Giant quarry next to volcanic buttes. And again, these might be the fill points where they just take the slurry mix that they grind out of there and dump it. Enough drill points are around the area over to the west that we would think that maybe if it was geothermal or if there was some kind of, let's see, something like this, some kind of geothermal activity, some kind of geothermal turbine. But in this case, we're all the way over next to old quarries. The depth on this is at 10.2 kilometers depth. I'll think man-made faulting due to the quarrying at the surface. That's right next to the spot that broke apart 6 months ago with a 6.5 earthquake. So a new 5.2, oh, it's now aftershocking, of course, with a 4.3. So we have to understand what happened 6 months ago. Let's get back over to Google Earth. And again, I'm looking for anything else nearby, any kind of drill points, any kind of mines, any kind of anything, but what I'm seeing there, look, we're right next to it. I mean, we are literally right next to it. But it's down 10 kilometers. But we have a surface fissure fracture which formed here 12 miles long, and it's just a hop, skip, and a jump away. I would think that it's a weak point at the surface, and that surface fissure fracture is actually extending. That's what I would think. Now, that's a big earthquake, 5.2, 70 felt report, 70 felt report so far rolling in on the USGS website. If you're just now tuning in, a 5.2 earthquake struck at the California-Nevada border at a time where the rest of the plate is going into overdrive. And this is certainly significant enough to get everybody's attention. Now, out here where the rings overlap, out in the ocean, out in the Juan de Fuca fracture zone, we have to watch between the 6.4 that struck up in the Aleutians today, followed by the 5.7 that struck after it, and then down to the east-southeast. Now a new 5.2 comes rolling into the edge of the North American plate, which is really just the deformed craton edge. Look at the graph here. Right? It's purple versus the green, and the purple versus the tannish rusty color at the center. Now that you'll notice the purple goes over to California. It's right over the center of where the Craton diagram takes it. So we have ourselves a earthquake at a mine that's next to the fracture point, the fissure point from 6 months ago. And that's a volcanic butte, if you will, where the new earthquake just struck today. Let's go back and look at it one more time. This lava flow here, there's no doubt about it. I mean, that's what it is. You can see the basalt. It's raised. This is higher than the desert floor. This is raised, and that's black basalt. Now they have the mine on the side of it, which is right here. You'd think maybe there was gold here. You know, volcanoes have precious metals around them sometimes. Here's another cinder cone of some kind, an ancient cinder cone. This is really old. That's a really old cinder cone. But the surface fissure fracture formed over here to the east by many miles. So I would think it's connecting. And the pressure is coming in from the northwest, which the plate is slipping, or has still been slipping, along the west coast, Washington, Oregon, Vancouver Island, and going down to Northern California. So to see a 5 come rolling in interior to the plate, I am not that shocked by that. We went from 6.4 down to 5.7 down to 5.2. We basically just took one magnitude step down. We go from a 6.4 down to a 5.4 basically, because you can add all these others in. Now let's see if there's a swarm taking place. Let's go turn on the last 24 hours. 1 day, 0.0. And let's just see if there's any more other than all these small 4s, which I wouldn't call 4s actually small. I shouldn't call those small. But is there anything else? Oh yeah, okay, so we are swarming out in addition to the 4s and the 3s. We got a bunch of 0s, 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, and the 5.2 right on top, all of it. This is a big increase from where we were, which was next to nothing. What we were at, 2s on the west coast, 2s and 3s. Now we just jumped up to 5.2. That's a big increase, amplitude-wise, power-wise. So where did it all come from? We know that the plate is shifting and going into major overdrive with the deep earthquakes, the two 50,000-foot-high blasts over in the West Pacific, over at Semeru and Luotolo volcano that I don't ever have to normally report on. That volcano hadn't erupted in 8 years. So we've got ourselves a big increase going on. The last 48 hours, there's been 4 different 6.0 range earthquakes around the planet. You can see 2 of them in the southern hemisphere and 2 of them in the northern hemisphere. One of them a deep quake, right here, raised high off the globe. Another 6.4, again, like I said, struck over in Alaska. The other 6.3 to 6.4 earthquake struck down here at the Chile-Argentina-Bolivia border. And the other 6.0 to 6.2 struck just in the past few hours down south of New Zealand. This has all happened in the last 48 hours. 2 50,000-foot-high blasts, 4 different 6-point-something earthquakes going up to 6.4 around the whole plate. West coast of the United States just got its first 5 in a little while, and we're not done yet. There's going to be more. There's going to be a big release over here in the West Pacific, going over into China, and going over into Europe. It'll take a step down by the time it gets to Europe, but it still should be in that 5 range, and I'll have to do a new forecast based upon everything that's happened here in the last day. Now, the spacing on these quakes tells the tale of a equal spread of significant-sized quakes, 4s, 5s, and 6s, across the North Pacific, going right down to the west coast of the United States. We talked about this in my update earlier today, that the west coast is due, was due, and has now been hit. Technically, the west coast has been hit. Not exactly in the Juan de Fuca fracture zone, but on the edge of the deformed edge of the craton where the purple meets the green, the California-Nevada border, which has already broken apart several months ago. Now, I have not checked to see if there's anything else of significance going on there around the area. While I've got you on here, let's just go quickly take a look on Google Earth, see if there's any hotspot activity or anything else showing up nearby. Again, doesn't show up all the time, but might have to look and see if there's any hotspot activity around. These are from a month and a half ago, September 10th. We saved those. I don't see any hotspot activity around here. That's good. No red marked points for heat signatures of any kind. Down to the south, do we have any? I don't see any down to the south either. That's good. That's good. Okay, well, no hotspots. We have ourselves earthquakes taking place. And the big earthquake here is just a sign of the unrest spreading around the rest of the planet. Look, 5.2, we actually got off kind of lucky on that because the rest of the plate's moving at the 5, upper 5, and 6-ish basis right now. Now, I wouldn't count out that middle point between our pinkish earthquake here to the north, which is a 5.7 from earlier today, and the 5.2 that just struck at the California-Nevada border, the halfway point if we go around the bends of the plate boundary. So let me show you the plate boundary here. Here's the Juan de Fuca fracture zone, and here's where our new 5.2 earthquake just struck. Now going back up to the west by northwest, you follow the faults, and they go back into Oregon, which has been shifting with the tremors. Now let's go over to the tremor map and just see if it's been fixed. No, they still have 66. Let's go back a day. The 66 anomaly, right? Well, look where the 66 tremors are. They're in southwest Oregon, right? So wait, let's just match that up with... Wait, I just closed the window, sorry. Let's match that up with these little red lines that go back up to where the little red dots were on the other map. Those are the faults. The faults go back down along the California-Nevada border. They go right to the supervolcano on the California side, which is Long Valley. I already showed it to you. I'll show it to you again. Right here. So as I look between the areas, I'm looking for drill points. I'm looking for geothermal. I'm looking for power generation stations, solar farms, anything that can lead to a precipitation of electrical discharge into the crust or up out of the crust. You can precipitate it up out, bring it up out of the crust. Amazing stuff going on because my update earlier today, the VLF station here at Washington, Oso, Washington, was struck by a rare earthquake. The VLF station at Devil's Mountain or Devil's Peak. Then down to the south, we had a bunch of military operations get hit all the way across Nevada in a diagonal line of small earthquakes. So let's just quickly show that to you really quick. Let's show you the last day and a half, 2 days worth of 0.0 and greater earthquakes. And just wait for this to refresh here. There we are. And I'll show you the line of earthquakes that I showed you in my update earlier today. If you're just now tuning in, maybe you didn't see my update from earlier today. This line of quakes going in a diagonal line across South Utah. We went and looked up each location, and it started getting more weird after weird. It was just crazy. Now, the spots that I looked up were military installations, nuclear test sites, radar stations. They were all getting hit with these earthquakes. And it goes back up to the naval station, the naval VLF very low frequency station up here in Washington. It was a heck of an update. Now we get, in between it all, a new 5.2 earthquake popping off. Right next to an old quarry of some kind, which is very, very odd. I should probably inspect the area and just see if there's anything else nearby. You know, where there's a quarry, there can be other interesting features. Like these volcanoes, like Coaldale, for instance. Do we have anything else nearby? And people who live out there, you guys might know of stuff that I don't know about. You know, you go zoom in and you find something like this. Oh, look. Well, look what we have going on here. An electrical substation of some kind. With a person that's, or at least a little trailer next to it of some kind. Where is that going? That's leading, that power line is going back up here. Carries on. I'm following these little shadows on the ground here. Just trying to figure out what's up here, that's all. Goes up this road. Look, it just goes into like a gully. Carries on. I mean, it's a heck of a way to run a power line to the middle of nowhere. I'm curious and I want to know what's here. If we have an earthquake there and this is leading somewhere, what if this is leading to some kind of test site or some other thing that's at the location? It just goes, wait. Oh, no. Is that what I think it is? If that's what I think it is, I need to get the heck on out of there, because that is what I think is a missile silo. Okay. You guys have an earthquake plan. Be prepared just in case. You need to always know what to do when an earthquake strikes. Pretty basic. You need to take shelter underneath a table or a desk. Now, if you don't have a table or desk, I think you're probably going to need to get one. Probably even get a free one at Goodwill or something for next to nothing. But something sturdy that can support falling items from up off the ceiling, and maybe from falling plaster and falling drywall, falling light fixtures. You should also have a plan to go outside, most likely after the earthquake, but if you have to, even maybe during the earthquake if you're not confident in the structure that you're in. Make your way outside and make sure that the people in your household know where to go to. So you need to tell them or prearrange it, kind of like a fire drill. So make sure to do that. And between that, having a plan, just knowing what to do when an earthquake strikes, you should also have an emergency kit. And it doesn't cost much of anything to put it together. Change of clothes, set of shoes, food and water for a couple days. Nothing heavy, just lightweight packaged foods of some kind. Also, flashlight, batteries, this is all basic stuff. First aid, sanitation, ID. Do you have an extra ID? How about the documents that you would need to get a new ID? Do you have that? Maybe you can make copies of that stuff, put it into the bag. Extra debit card? Prepaid debit card? Cash? I don't know if anybody even uses cash anymore, or if you even have it. But something like that in the bag, make sure to have it. Oh, extra keys. Oh, extra keys. Extra car keys, extra house keys, whatever kind of keys you require. Extra keys in that bag. You'll thank me later for that, because you'll lose your keys at some point, or you'll misplace them. You'll be like, oh, I've got the extra set in the emergency kit. Thank God. And you'll go get it. I already did that with my truck. I was like, oh, man, I locked it. Oh, no. I think I locked my keys inside. And I was like, oh, thank God. So, it just comes in handy. Also for things like a fire or a flood evacuation. Look, those extra minutes that are saved, that you don't have to fumble around and try and find your purse and your wallet, that you have those extra things that are in your purse and wallet in your emergency kit. Especially if it's dark and you can't get to it readily. Okay, I'm just reminding you. So if you're just now tuning in one more time, let me just tell you, I'm going to save this as a video. We'll upload it over on YouTube. But right now, while we're live on Twitch, 5.2 earthquake struck here at the California-Nevada border, right next to some interesting features, which I don't even want to know if we need to go into that any deeper. It looks to me like that is one of those square missile silo locations. I don't know if it'd be an active one. I might be wrong. It might not be that. But to have a power line going all the way out to it in the middle of nowhere, it's just too weird. But regardless, we are right next to Monte Cristo Hills, and we're right next to an old quarry, and we have the surface fissure fracture that formed 6 months ago with the 6.5. They've got to be connecting. Got to be. Now, if there's some kind of other military there, then oh my God, because that fits in with the rest of the earthquakes that struck at the Naval VLF, Very Low Frequency Station, Nellis Air Force Base, all the power stations, all the nuke test sites, all the military sites, and that was all in my update no more than 3 or 4 hours ago. So the biggest earthquake in a few weeks, if not months, has struck on the west coast of the United States, and I don't think we're done yet. I think where the rings overlap on the west coast out in the ocean, we need to be on watch for a potential larger earthquake than what's on both sides right now. Got a 5.7 on one side and a 5.2 on the other. We would look between the two for something bigger than that to strike, and that puts Vancouver out into the ocean off the coast of Washington and Oregon at the pinnacle tip of the Juan de Fuca fracture zone. It looks like an arrow out here in the ocean. Hope I'm totally wrong on all of it, but right now, 4 different 6s in the last 2 days. A big, deep 6 up here, letting us know 7s are coming most likely in the Pacific. 2 50,000-foot eye blasts over in the West Pacific. And I haven't even talked about Europe, but we have a deep earthquake down below Europe as well here, raised high off the globe. It's spreading all the way over to Europe. Now, it's not that big of a deep earthquake. It's like in the 2-ish range. Still, though, it's a deep earthquake spreading from south of Italy, and deep earthquake spreading all the way down to Argentina on the other side of the planet. It's 3/4 of the planet has a deep earthquake event taking place down below it. And so many times in the past, I've said this, and I'll say it again now. When we get a big, deep earthquake event that spans 3/4 of the planet, we can expect shallower, larger earthquake to be pretty big in between our sets of deep earthquakes, which reduces the spots to watch. Then we look even further down, reducing the areas, down between our current sets of smaller earthquakes to our open silent zones. And there's only a few of them around the West Pacific right now, open silent zones. This was, for instance, Indonesia was the open silent zone like 5 or 6 days ago when I issued the warning. Then, the next day, after the warning was issued, the first 50,000-foot high blast happened at Luotolo. Then the next day, another 50,000-foot high blast happened. Now it's spreading out and away from there. But in the middle, another example, a big open area. Do you see it? Near down south of these earthquakes, it bends around, makes the S-shaped bend. So there's only a handful of real open areas across the whole West Pacific. That's over here at New Caledonia, north of New Caledonia, Vanuatu. Over here at Indonesia, going into Papua New Guinea. Up here at Taiwan, going into South Japan. And out here on the open area of the Izu Ridge. Oh, wow. If anything else happens, I'll jump back on at a moment's notice, but I'll say enough is happening right now that you should probably pay attention on your own. You can bookmark this Twitch link and you can watch live 24/7. Even if you're not really a subscriber, you can just watch to chat in the chat room. You have to be a subscriber, of course, but you can watch. Anybody can watch. You can share the link as long as you can get Twitch in general, which there's an app and you can watch online. You can watch this live stream 24/7. And that's what the arrows are on here for, so you can watch it progress. Look, we already watched it progress from the 6. Here, let me get them on the feed here again. From the big, deep 6 right here on the feed 2 days ago. We watched it progress till today, the 6.4, same size. Then from that, the 5.7 spread. And now the 5.2 is spread down here. It's pretty basic. Now the middle point should be filled in between the sets of quakes. As long as these deep earthquakes keep hammering off, we are going to see shallower, larger earthquakes spread out and away from them. And in this case, it's like a big bass drum being beaten like a timpani drum. Even all the way down to our letter X. X marks the spot south of New Zealand on the plate boundary fracture zone that goes down into Australia. 4 different 6s in 48 hours, going from 0 to 60, guys. That's really what we've done in just 2 days' time. Seismically speaking, that's major. So it's a big increase from where we were, which was next to nothing last week. Now we have a big deep earthquake event start to flare up. And all of a sudden, following that, a bunch of 6s start to pop off, 2 50,000-foot high blast, and we're not even done yet. Oh, and west coast of the United States gets a 5. Oh, Germany got a rare 4.0 yesterday. Are we shocked? Be safe, guys. Word up. Peace out. Much love.